In 2023, the most common platforms targeted by ADA lawsuits were Shopify at 35.7% and WordPress at 18.1%. What does that have to say about WordPress and Shopify?
Yeah, so it's interesting, and I was trying to grab some statistics on this, but they're surprisingly difficult to find. So for WordPress, it's easy. So you hear that 18%, all of the ADA lawsuits brought against websites are brought against WordPress sites. And you might want to say, whoa, WordPress must be really bad. But WordPress sites make up 40% of the internet. So if everything was fair and level, right, you'd expect about 40% of the lawsuits to be against WordPress sites. So it actually seems like WordPress is faring pretty well in there. And I don't think that that means that WordPress sites are particularly accessible, although that would be very nice if that were the case. I think it's more that a lot of WordPress sites are little independent blogs that maybe don't have a business behind them but are personal and wouldn't be very likely to be targeted by lawsuits. So there's some good news and some bad news, I think, for WordPress in there. The Shopify lawsuits being at almost 36%, I think is really surprising because I couldn't find any statistics on what percent of the internet is built on Shopify, but it's nowhere near 36%. Like that I can say for sure. So they have more of the share of lawsuits than I think we would expect. And I think like that's not all bad news for Shopify. We do know that there is an emphasis on e-commerce in these lawsuits very often. So that makes sense. If people are specifically targeting e-commerce sites, that Shopify would end up being overrepresented in the sample.